Hello and welcome to my little corner of the world. This is my yard located in the beautiful Ozark Mountains of Missouri, and this right here, this gazebo, is my quiet place. It's a place that I can come and sit and gather my thoughts, be quiet, listen to the sounds of nature, the birds chirping. Last night I heard whippoorwills, or I can listen to the frogs chirp down in the pond later on this evening. It's just a wonderful, inspiring place. I'm so glad to be a part of this show, and my project is dedicated to my grandmother, who was an avid bird lover. She collected bird figurines. She loved birds. Anytime you got a letter from her, it always had a little bird sticker on it, and I miss her so much. I'm going to be sharing a decoupaged clay pot project with you. It's perfect for your garden, especially if you have a container garden. It makes a great gift, and it's also great if you're short on time. So why don't we head on over to the studio, take a walk with me, and I'll show you how to do it. So let me go over a few of the supplies that you'll need for this project. First of all, you'll need some collage medium. You will also need a sanding block, and obviously mine's well used. You can get these at the hardware store. I have a 4-inch clay pot. I also have my scissors, a sponge brush, and some black acrylic paint. And these are the basic materials that you're going to need. You can use any color of paint that will go with your project, but remember, I'm making this kind of vintage looking, so I'm going to go with some really neutral earthy tones. Here's a couple of pieces of paper that I've chosen. I'm actually only going to use one of them, but this gives you an idea. You'll want to keep the background somewhat neutral, somewhat simple for this project, especially if you're going to decoupage an image over the top of it. This is really nice because this is just some dictionary print. You can also use newspaper. And then I have my collage sheet here, which you'll be able to download off of the website at cooltocraft.com. It has a couple of different sized birds on it depending on your personal taste, and I've left a couple of them black and white. You can use them in black and white, or you can choose to color them if you want to. I also have printed or made a pattern for you. This works for the 4-inch clay pot. If you are using a pot of a different size, you might want to take a few extra minutes to make your own pattern. And my particular pot, some of them are kind of short and squatty. This one happens to be tall. So you can also download this pattern off of the Cool to Craft website. So I'm going to remove these gray sheets of paper. These were just background so you could see the paper. And obviously I've been working on some other projects, so I'm going to just work right here on my surface. Let me pull this back in. What we're going to do is we are going to paint the rim of our pot completely black, and we'll let that dry. Because these pots, they're so porous, it doesn't take long for them to dry at all. So do this first, that way you don't have to worry about getting any paint on your paper. So all the way around. And you'll want to make sure to get it under this lip right here. You don't have to paint the entire pot completely, but you do want to make sure that you get underneath this lip. Okay, I'm going to, and just to make it look nice, you'll want to paint down into your pot a couple inches there. The dirt will cover up the rest. And just like that, it is almost dry. You can speed it up a little bit if you've got a heat gun handy. And I do. Like I said before, this is a great project, especially if you are short on time or it makes a good housewarming gift. You can actually have several of these done pretty quickly. All right, now what we're going to do is with the pattern, you are going to cut out a piece from your decorative paper. So this we're going to decoupage onto the front of the little clay pot. If you want this all in one piece, then you'll need to make a pattern that looks like this. But you could tear strips of paper if you wanted to and piece it on that way. That way works too, if you didn't want to have to go to all the trouble of making a pattern. And you can use this technique for any size clay pot that you want. I put my decoupage medium on pretty generous, again because this pot is kind of porous and it'll tend to dry out a little quicker than normal. Go around the bottom there. And then we'll stick some on the back of our paper. Yes, you could use a paintbrush, but I just have to get into my work. Make sure I got it on right. Nope, it's on upside down. There we go. All right, so you're just going to line the edge of the paper just under the brim there and set it on. It's pretty easy. You may have a couple of little puckers in your paper. That's okay. That makes it actually look a little better. It doesn't slide off there. And then you're going to go over the top with more decoupage medium and smooth it down. So make sure that it's all set. And like I said, it's going to have a couple little puckers in it. That's fine. It really won't show. In fact, it kind of looks better. It looks a little bit more aged if it does have a few puckers, but you just want to make sure that you get all of the air out of it. And I think this would look pretty cool with some vintage newspaper too. And instead of trimming the bottom, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold that over. Like this. This medium dries pretty fast too. Once your paper gets good and saturated, then it bends a lot easier and you'll be able to fold those and set those edges down. Don't underestimate decoupaging. It's a great way to give a lot of your projects a really quick lift, kind of bring them into a modern project, spruce them up a little bit. Okay. And if it gets a little dark paint on it, that doesn't matter either. Just kind of smooth that out a little bit. All right, let me dry this a little bit here. It's not completely dry. I'm using the gloss, so sometimes it doesn't look like it's dry when it is dry, so that's pretty good, just like that. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take and you're going to cut out your bird from the collage sheet, which I've already done here. And I'm going to use the bird that is already colored. And if you don't want it yellow, if you want it red or pink, you can just go over this with some chalk or some distress ink and color this any color that you wish. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to add a little bit of decoupage medium. And then go over the top, a little bit of the medium, and set that down. The medium that I'm using actually is a little bit, has a little bit of water resistance to it. So you don't necessarily want to let this pot out in the open air, like outside. But it does resist water. Be pretty in your kitchen or on a windowsill. It's looking pretty good. Pretty good. Makes me think of Grandma. All right, almost finished. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to really age this to make it look very vintage. And I'm going to dry this here real quick. And our very last step is to have fun with the sanding sponge. So just go over the top rim and sand away some of the paint. You can sand a little or a lot. And if you have the saucer with your clay pot, you're going to do the exact same thing with the saucer. I painted my saucer completely black and distressed it by sanding away some of the paint here. It also helps if your paint is still a little wet. It'll take it off a little easier. This is a pretty rough grit sanding block. So we're going to come back in with our collage page right over the top. Of the black. This will give it a nice shiny finish and make it water resistant. We're almost done. See how quick this was? There we go. We are done. So let's take a look at what our finished project looks like.